You know, the old saying is money talks and, well, BS walks, right? Is that true on a cruise ship? Should you be doing strategic tipping to make sure that you get the best service on your upcoming cruise? Hey, what's up, everybody? Tony with Lido, Loca. Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're brand new here, I would just invite you to subscribe. If you like cruising, cruise ships, cruise news, cruise tips, cruise vlogs, cruising, that cruise life, consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss any of our content. You've dropped in on a series that we're doing 31 tips in 31 days. We're actually counting up to our next cruise, which is on the Carnival Breeze, and this is day 11. It's kind of an interactive series, so I'm giving just a brief tip every day, and then we're inviting folks to jump in the comment and give their tip on the subject of the day. And we're going to pick one of those tips, we're going to pin it to the top of the comments, and at the end of 31 days, we're going to have a little bit of a drawing and pick out one winner for a prize pack that my wife Jenny and I are putting together on our Carnival Breeze cruise. So jump in the conversation and share your tips with us. Just a quick word on the comments. There's a lot of them, and I appreciate the interaction. So once I've read your comment for the day, I'll put a heart by it, and I'll like your comment. That way you know that I've read it. So I also get notified when new comments are posted, and I stumbled across this pretty extensive comment by a new viewer and a commenter about his strategy for how he uses his tipping on the early days of his cruise to ensure the best service throughout his cruise. And then also I got to hang out with some friends last night, and we also had an interesting conversation about tipping with some interesting outcomes from that. So I want to lay it all out. The question that we're trying to solve here is, can you get better cruise ship service by throwing your money around? And I'll give you the two particular examples. So the first example, and I will try to condense it, comes from our new commenter, this guy named Samuel. He said what he does when he goes on the cruise ship is anybody that he feels like he's going to interact with during the cruise, he makes sure that he lets them know that he has money. So he tips them, he gets really familiar with them, he makes sure that they're familiar with his name. He finds, he tips the bartender, he tips the wait staff, he makes sure that he gives his room steward money up front, and he just wants them to know that he's a guy that's got money, that's happy to give it away in exchange for good service. And he said by doing this, his service is off the chain. One of the more challenging places on a cruise ship sometimes is when a bar is busy, is to be able to get the bartender to give you some attention. And so our friend Joe, what he does is he finds a bartender early on and he makes sure that he tips them, and then he always uses the same bartender, and then that bartender recognizes him and makes sure that he has good service throughout the cruise. And before I get too deep into this, a shout out to all of our European friends, a shout out to our friends in Australia and New Zealand. I know how these guys feel about tipping. No tips, no how, no way. That's not the way they do it in their culture. That's not the way they do it in their country. Big no-no on the tips, and I appreciate it because look, I almost think that that's the way to go. But now back to this idea. Should you grease the wheels? Should you pay in advance? Will you get better service? The only beef I have with that is if that was the only money that I was going to tip, then maybe that's the right approach. However, the cruise line is already charging me for gratuities. So what we're talking about with the guy Samuel, what we're talking about with my buddy Joe, is that they are over tipping for better service. And I got no problem with either one of them doing that, because if those are the things that get you the service that you want on the cruise ship, I understand why you do it. The problem I have is with the whole system. If the whole deal is that I can come in and be generous and people know that I'm generous and therefore I'm going to get a higher level of service, then don't charge me an assigned gratuity on the back end. I hear that this is one of the reasons why people remove their gratuities. They remove their gratuities so that they can tip the way that they want to tip. And if it's a situation where if you're more outlandish and you're more upfront with the way that you tip, that you're going to get better service, then I have a hard time, being bummed out at the people that remove their gratuities to do that. I don't know what the argument against that is. I think the broad argument is you should pay your assigned gratuities, and if you want to tip extra, you should tip extra, but never remove your assigned gratuities because you're shorting somebody some money. But hey, man, if I'm going to get the best service by tipping people and my assigned gratuity doesn't matter when it comes to my service level, I mean, it's going to be a tough sell to try to change those people's minds. I get it. Now, Jenny and I, we don't drink a lot, so really the only experience I've had with this is with our room steward. We have tipped the room steward in advance on the first day, and we have also waited till the end and tipped at the end. So yeah, I'm paying my assigned gratuities, but I'm still giving the room steward extra money for a job well done. And sometimes I don't even consider it. I just feel obligated to give that person extra money because I feel like that's what you're supposed to do. That seems to be the norm, at least in the US cruising culture, is that you just tip the room steward. So maybe I don't tip enough, right? So we've done it a couple times where we've tipped in advance. I think we gave the guy like $30 or $40 for the 4-day, 5-day cruise that we were on. And we did that right at the beginning. Like we met the guy, boom, here's $40. We're looking forward to hanging out with you. We didn't really have any special requests. And then we've been on cruises where we waited at the end and said, boom, here's the $40, thank you. And I can tell you that the service wasn't like that much different. And so I'm conflicted. I don't know. I could see that this bar thing being true, like in a crowded bar, if the bartender knows that you're the person that's going to give them an extra couple bucks, they are going to go your way. But I don't know. Again, this chalks under the cruise ship tipping is frustrating to me. I made a video about that. I will link it above and in the description below. So the tip for today might be use your money to get better service, but I'm conflicted. I don't know if that's true. I wanted to kick it over to you guys. The question for the comment is this: do you believe that giving cash at the beginning of the cruise to bartenders, to maitre d's, to wait staff, to your room steward is going to equal better service for you? Do you believe that if you don't do any of that extra cash at all, you're going to get the same level of service? Leave a comment below. I would love to hear where you're at on this because I really don't know. We've given the room steward money at the beginning. We've given at the end. I haven't seen a really big bump in the service, but I'm not really asking for anything crazy. So I don't know. Please share your tipping stories below. I would love to hear it. Let's continue the conversation. Thanks for stopping by to the YouTube channel. Again, if you like the video, please hit like, subscribe if you haven't. This is Tony with Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.